Hello, how are you doing? Are you having fun today? Are you enjoying your life? Do you look forward to getting up in the morning and doing something important or hanging out with friends and family after work or with people you're working with? The question is, if you're saying no, why aren't you? There's so many new things around nowadays. You have the internet, the telephone, social media, and all of those things which people haven't had all of the time. Yet, many people were happy, satisfied, and found joy in their lives. What's the difference now? We just don't get together the way we used to a long time ago. I'm not talking about a very long time ago, back in the 30s and 40s, during those times when there was all kinds of turmoil and hatred, people overworking themselves 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, or things like that. I'm talking about the times when there were strong unions, when people were able to make it working 40 hours a week and usually able to supply enough resources for a family from one person's paycheck. And of course, this wasn't with everyone, but with many people. They didn't have much money, but they had the most important thing: time. And I think something else was happening. People were more curious, more open minded, not willing to shut the door in each other's faces so fast. And of course, that wasn't the case with everyone. Some people were wrapped up with the ignorance and the prejudices of the time and weren't open minded at all. But I think, as a people in the United States, especially after World War I, we were all more curious. We wanted to reach out, get to know other people and about what they are doing. And what I'm meaning by we are the people who care, the people who are not afraid, the people who know that life on planet Earth is about exploration and experience. Life is not about staying in one little box or in one little closet or with one little group of predictable people. It's about experiencing, seeing new places, hearing new types of music, having conversations with people you might not agree with, but as you talk with these people, you get an idea of the way they see the world and what your differences really are. You take it as an opportunity to grow. And as you grow, you begin to see the world as a bigger place. You don't necessarily end up agreeing with them, even though you do partially most of the time, because even a broken clock is right at least once or twice a day. We don't do that anymore. We are in boxes and looking at boxes most of the time, watching TV or watching something on the computer. When we find something we agree with, we watch that. On TV now, we see not so subtle ways they're trying to brainwash us and shape the way we see the world. At least before, a long time ago, they had to sneak it in. They had to trick us. Now it has become so obvious. People watch these things, they think they're supposed to behave like these characters that are written by someone. They see the TV as something more real than their lives and think that we should be imitating TV life instead of having TV life imitating real life. We've got to end this. We have to stop allowing ourselves to experience curiosity as fear. We've learned to do that in our society, to be afraid of new things, mainly because we have learned that every awkward feeling is wrong. We've learned that we have to be competent everywhere we are. We don't want to make mistakes. So we lock ourselves in little predictable boxes. And worse than that, people have become so angry and so sensitive nowadays that if we meet a different person and we make a mistake, sometimes we're being attacked, slurred, called all kinds of names, and accusations are made against us only because we didn't know how to address the person or work with the person, or we didn't know about their history. And then, if we say that, we're told that we should have cared enough to study their history when we don't have time to study other people's history, when we don't have time to study our own. Many people are working 2 jobs now, barely able to make it, fighting off the cares and the worries they have in their minds, knowing that if they get sick, their lives may be ruined. If they get in a car accident, their lives may be ruined. Many people are living paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have time to study people's history to be able to say the right thing. So we have all of this happening, all of this fighting, all of this anger, and all of this division, and it all seems to come down to one thing: the economic slavery system that we're in. We're forced to work too many hours, and we're not paid enough to live. There are no controls on the amount of money that a person can charge us for rent. They can charge us 2 or 3 times what we can afford to pay, and we're forced to go out and scrap and try to find enough money to pay a person just to have shelter. And as a result of this, we see more than 50,000 people living on the streets of Los Angeles in tents or just laying on the sidewalk. And that's not counting other cities like San Francisco, New York, Chicago, all of the great cities where people cannot even afford rent. What's being done about it? Sometimes somebody will open a shelter in the basement and allow a small amount of people to come in to get out of the cold for maybe 8 or 9 hours, and then they're thrown out. The places are dangerous because they're packed and they're cramped and there's no security there. And that's the solution: a band-aid for a broken bone. Instead of the fighting, the arguing, getting angry about a person saying a certain word or doing something, I think that emotion and that devotion should be aimed at doing something that will help every one of us. That is creating a fair and just economic system where we can all live and all thrive and all go to work and find joy in our labor. Not to work like slaves, to kill ourselves, to break down our bodies, to do nothing but work, but to go into an enjoyable place where we can work together as peers and create the things that our society needs. We need a shift in our mindset and in our workplace. And I think that the shift in the workplace and the extra time we will all have and income will allow us to come together to deal with the other things as we please. That, however, is just my 2 cents. As you can see by this beard here, though, I'm getting pretty old by now. I've seen a lot of life and I've studied a lot of things. And even to me, it's obvious that one of the major problems here is the fact that there is no economic freedom or sustenance for most people in this country. Question is, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to begin to shift your focus on economic freedom, economic justice, or just keep fighting amongst each other as this ship called the Earth that has already hit the iceberg called global warming, not climate change, global warming, goes down and takes us to the bottom, trying to rearrange the furniture on the Titanic won't help. And the reason we are being forced to or allowed to sink down to the bottom is simply because of one thing: the greed of a small group of people selling petroleum products who want change by being the ones who lead us in a green revolution, who will lead us to replace fossil fuels with green energy. They have the money, they have the power, they have the resources to make themselves obsolete as they become a new industry, a new way of being, as they make just as much money as they do now by creating a better world and a more healthy world. And they become the heroes that they claim to be. This too, though, is very difficult now. And the truth is, it's difficult because the mindset that we have adopted here in this nation has become toxic. The first step, I think, to correcting a problem or issue is noticing it. So let us, as an exercise, begin to just step back in the quietness of our minds as we begin to observe people that we meet on the street, observe what we are seeing on the television, listening to in records and on the radio, watching on YouTube, hearing on social media. We need not respond yet. Just spend some time for a while just observing, and if need be, writing down the ideas that you're hearing on these mediums. That's the first step. The next step will be to erase all of the erroneous lies, the twisted and warped ideas that come to hurt us and ourselves and our families. That is the next step. But before we can get rid of the poison, we have to recognize it, because it is disguised and dressed in finery. There was a song by Earth, Wind and Fire called System of Survival in the 80s. Says the human race is running over me. I punch a clock from 9 to 5 just trying to make a living. A perfect face on satellite TV says life is full of give and take. He's taking and I'm giving. And that is where we find ourselves today. Let's stop trying to take from those worse off and start giving our strength, our power, are awareness and intelligence, giving that to turn this society around. And a big part of turning it around is the promotion of spiritual growth and economic justice. I think that one often goes hand in hand with the other, and then perhaps when you're asked if you're happy and better off, you can say without hesitation, why shouldn't I be? Thanks for being with us today. You can find more information about us down below in the descriptions. Namaste.